Right, so we are live. So you could share the YouTube link. All right. I'll just wait a couple of minutes before I start. Sorry for the delay. We had a bit of technical glitch, but I believe if you can see my screen, please just give me some reactions in the chat. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Hello. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see you.
All right, thank you for that. So, without further ado, we are starting the session. So, today we are talking about the introduction to. So, if you recall the last beginners class we had, we talked about the Linux file system, right? Now, but in this session, we are talking about the Linux um, command line. So this is basically what you need as if because once you are working with servers, start working in the DevOps part or system admin part, you need to know how to navigate your way in the Linux command line, and you need to understand how to find your way and to know where you are, and what commands you need to run at any particular time, or if you are given any task, right? So during the last session, I did share some uh, tasks for us to take up and do, and also so during the session we'll review those questions and those questions and work and get the solutions then before we proceed also to this one. So I have here that we will explore the fundamentals of Linux command line interface. So yes, CLI, that's command line interface. That's an abbreviation of command. The command line interface as well as for an efficient way to interact with the Linux operating system. So if you are familiar, so one good thing about Linux command line is once you are familiar with one distro, meaning if you are familiar with let's say Ubuntu or Fedora or Red Hat or or CentOS, which is another popular distro that people use. So you should, once you are familiar with one, that same knowledge works across the other Linux operating system. So same thing with Windows. If you are familiar with, say, Windows 10, you should be able to work with Windows 7 and Windows 8 as the case may be. So same thing also is applicable here in Linux. Once you are familiar with the command line with any of the distro, you should be comfortable working with the other distros. The only thing that will just change will just be some terminologies, which is it is very minimal, but because most of them are the trials which are supposed to maintain the same their commands are almost like 90%, 99% similar. It's just in some cases that you would see whereby you are seeing IP tables and some commands that are different in terms of Red Hat and Ubuntu. Let's say you want to install a package now on Red Hat, you use Yum, and if you are installing a package on applications on Ubuntu, Debian, and the likes, you use apps or apt-get as the case may be. So some of the key concepts that we need to know when you're working with the Linux command line, we have what. Could you let me know if my screen has changed? Okay, yes. Okay, so some of the key concepts of things that we'll be working with when we are dealing with Linux command CLI is you begin stuff with where they call terminal, they call shells, and they call commands, and also the directory and the file structure. So if you recall the last time, we talked about the Linux file system, which uses an hierarchical file structure system, right? So another key concept that you need to know is the terminal. You'll be hearing terminal, like log into your terminal, do this on the terminal, do this on the terminal. The terminal is the applications that provide access to the command line interface. So the terminal is like so let's say you are running on a Windows now and you want to connect to a Linux based system. So the application you install, that's your application, that's the terminal emulator. So there are so many like now Windows 11 now comes with the terminal, that's the command line. They've upgraded it to a terminal which support Linux commands. So that emulator or that application that you use to connect to your or to access your Linux um, Linux command line is your Linux environment is that's your command line interface. That's the terminal. Then we have shell. Shell is a program that interprets your commands that you enter in the terminal. And we also have your commands, which are your basic or your instructions that you tell your shell to perform. So let's say, so all this we'll be seeing them in practicals. So, so the shell is like the backbone that interprets. So you know, like your IDE, if you're a programmer, your VS codes where you type your codes, and you want to type your code. So your shell is like that IDE that it takes that code, then interprets it to the to the one your Linux distro understands. Then we also have directory of file structure, which is basically your files, your folders that you have in your Linux environment, which you will be manipulating and also doing amazing stuff with. So some of the basic commands that we'll be working with, and there are some other ones that we'll also talk about. So we have at least these are the basic ones that everybody must know this. Even when if someone should tap you in your sleep, you should know this. So we have the pwd, the ls command, the cd. So like I explained here, the pwd is print the working directory. So this displays your current working directory. So just like that, as I listed here. So you have the ls, you have the cd, you have the mkdir, the rm, and the likes, right? So we'll be seeing all this in practical. So I don't want to bore us with so many theories, because this I want this to be as practical as much as possible, so we can all grab one or few things. So then the next thing we have is we have the advanced Linux commands. So the advanced Linux commands, these are like more, they are advanced in the sense that these commands, they do more, unlike your basic commands that uh, unlike your basic commands. So these more commands are a bit more advanced, and they are more like you are doing some more in-depth well, you are doing more in-depth what do I call it? You are doing more in-depth activities in your Linux environment. So all these commands we would see, and we would see how would they all fit in. So yeah, so you have the man, the sudo, the find, the grep, the tar, the ssh, and the likes. So without further ado, let's go to the demo. So I will be so do let me know when you see my screen. So let me share my terminal. Okay, so like I so this is the terminal that comes with Windows 11, and it already has SSH or it has Linux commands, a bit of Linux commands inbuilt in it. So from my like the previous, if you are using Windows 10, you can, if you open your command prompt, you can run SSH directory that SSH command. So like I mentioned in my other in the previous slide, the slide I was sharing earlier, we have commands which we call the SSH command. So that command is the secure shell. Secure shell is so unlike Windows, we have the RDP. That's how you connect to your Windows environment. And so on Linux, the mode at which you connect is through SSH, which is your secure shell. And so that's where you establish a secure remote connection to your Linux system, right? So now I have a Linux environment which I've spin up in my own account. So I want to connect to that Linux environment. So to connect, if you can, from what I have here, so from what I'm highlighting, so the connect is do you type SSH, then your username, then add the the password, right? So this is because I'm using a password to connect to my environment. So you could also have it that you have um, SSH keys, whereby you don't need to type password. All you just need is your key, and with that key, you connect to that your environment. But in my case, I'm using password to connect. So let me log into my environment. So one thing that you notice about Linux again is unlike Windows, whereby you are once you are typing your password, you won't see all the asterisk that you see that your password that you're typing password or not. So what you just get is your prompt, then you'll be able to connect to that environment. So now I've successfully logged in into my environment, right? So I'll be doing so one good thing about that I do for practicals is I spin up Docker environments. So I use that Docker environment to do whatever testing or whatever learning I want to do in that controlled environment. What Docker is, some of us might not know, is a container or it's an application that uh, that you use to package your. It's a program that you use to package your application. So your application is running in a secured environment where more or less like you have your virtual environment. So that your application is running in that environment space without conflicting any other thing outside the environment. So I have my Docker installed on this server, and I want to connect. So I'm running an Ubuntu image, which I would be connecting to run to do this demo. So for people that are new to Docker, during our advanced session, we'll be talking on Docker too. But for this session, we are focusing on the Ubuntu. We are focusing on the Linux CLI. So if you can see, my prompt changed uh, from this green to this, meaning that I've left current environment I am in now in another environment. So what I can do in this environment, whatever I do in this environment, I can damage anything in this environment. I know it will stay within this environment without affecting my core system. So so first thing you do, like for all systems that you get, what first thing you do is you apply and update. So the first, if you are assuming this was a, a CentOS or a Red Hat based system, what I'll be doing in it. But since this is an Ubuntu environment, the to update my um, packages is I do apt update. So this is best practice for every system that you first spin up. Even if it's a Windows system, the first thing they advise is that you do updates. You pull latest security patch updates to that your system. So I'm doing that now. So it's going to pull updates to my system. And as you can see, it's saying all packages are up to date. So meaning that yes, I can now proceed and start doing whatever I want to do. So if you recall during our last class, I talked about I gave us some assignments that we should work on. So I created during that session, I created a user profile, and I asked that inside that user profile, when you log in with that user. So let me do that now. I'm creating a user. Let me say, let me so to create a new user, you can either use user add the username, or you do add user, whichever one you choose. So I'm doing user add to add my user. So I've added the user to this environment. If I do ls, which is the list command, ls is to list file, or to list is the list command. So that's part of your basic command. So as you can see, it is listing all the files that I have in this directory. So one thing that you need as a Linux administrator is before you start doing anything, it's advisable you know where you are in the system. So you won't go and start messing up files not to. Now, you know, my basic command. So that will print the working directory. You can see it is printing means forward slash. And if you recall during our first session, I did show us the file hierarchy of the Linux system, saying that the first directory or the first part in the line in the Linux hierarchy system is the forward slash, which is this. So it's showing that in the root after this, there's no other thing. So every other thing is within this parts. And I also told us explain some of these folders for us. Like so, in this folder that I am in now, I can now do. I typed ls earlier. So there's with the ls command. So there's also some other options that you can pass to that ls command to make it more understandable for you. So to know those commands, so if we, I spoke about earlier that we have man command, right? So you can type man, which is shortcut for manual. So the Linux operating system, it has a manual for every command. So what I do, because you can't know all the commands or you can't know everything of about the command offhand. So that's why the manuals and also the help are available for you in the Linux environment. So if I type man, the command name, so like now I want to know any other option I can use with my ls command. I can type man ls. So it is telling me that you minimize by removing this. Oh, okay, yes. So this the man command won't work here because this is a Docker environment. Let's say I go to my main environment. I can run that man command. Let me quickly do that, and I'll come back again to the environment into my Docker environment. So I want to exit out of my Docker environment. So I'm doing that now. I'm now in my Windows. I'm in my parent or my parent environment, which is the server which I logged into earlier. And if you could see, my prompt changed from dollar, and also this after before the dollar sign, you could see it is showing me my username, and it's also showing me the name which I gave my server. So for the previous one I was in, which was the Docker environment, you see my username was root, and my and the Docker container that I am in, which is this. So now I was trying to talk about the man command. So if I do man ls, it is going to give me a manual of the ls command. So it will explain to me what the ls command does. So as you can see, it is telling me the ls command is a list directory content, and it's telling me so I can also, it's not telling me the usage of that command, that I can type ls option then file. So to explain this for us to understand, so the first thing is telling me that is this is the command I want to type ls. So with that command, I cannot type any other option. So sometimes you see some commands that will tell you um, that you see the option, that option or the next command that you can pass, or the next argument you can pass with it. For this ls command and the other arguments I can pass with it, which is for the option, it is telling me that it is telling me it is putting that option in a square bracket and putting three ellipses after it, meaning that I can have more than one option. So this square bracket indicates that it is optional. I can decide to put these options in the command or not. Then I can now put a file. So the file also is also optional because it's putting that file in a square bracket. Then I can can have it more than one or two or three, or as the case may be. And it is also now telling me that I have, so these are the options that I can pass to my command. So I can pass minus A, which is to list all, or capital A, almost all. So as the case may be, so the command very many. So scroll down in your manual page, so just press your down key and you will be slow, and you can scroll down line by line, or you can press your enter key, which will scroll you down um, page by page of your command. And you can also use the uh, space bar to scroll down also line by, I mean, sorry, okay, the space is for the space, is for the command for your for you to go page by page, while the enter is by line by line. So if you are done reading with your commands, you can now escape, which you can just press. So as you can see from the down part, it is telling me I can press H for help or Q to quit. So I want to quit this manual page, or more or less I want to close the manual. I press Q. So once I press, oh sorry. So once I press Q, it exits that manual. So I want to show you one other command, which is the man command, the another command that has a mandatory field for it. So let's see. So I talked about this command during our last class. So I want to read the dir command. So if you see the rmdir command, it's telling me I can put in an option which is optional, but I must specify a directory for it, because and it is telling me it is mandatory. My directory is not in a curly bracket. So meaning that if I'm typing the rmdir command, I must specify a directory. So let me exit. Oh, sorry. So let me exit this. So if I type rmdir, which is remove directory, without specifying any directory, I will get that I'm missing something. So that something is missing in my command, right? So the next thing is, so I want to go back to my learner's environment, so my Docker environment, so I can, so I don't want to mess up with my own main system here. So I'm going back into my Docker environment here. So the next thing I want to do is, so I've done ls command. So if you notice one thing, my prompt changed from a dollar sign to the pound symbol, or the hash symbol. Meaning, so for Linux environment, once you log in, so you need to take note of these symbols. So if the symbol is showing you dollar, meaning that you are not the admin, you are in the user mode, you are in the user session. But once your prompt is showing you dollar, it is saying that you are running as, you are now an admin, which is the root. You are running as a root. The any command you are typing, it's in the root. You are running as a root user. So, like I mentioned during my previous session, I talked about the home command, the home directory, which is the directory where the user's home files are by default. And but if you are creating a user, you could also specify the directory to be elsewhere. But by default, every user you create, their home folder would be in the home directory. So I want to create a new user. So let me create the user, add um, tests. So I've added this user. So another thing you need to know is if you are you want to start a previous command, so a user folder for you. But for Ubuntu, it is not. But if I wanted to create a user folder for my user, I could now that it has created that user for a username, I could create that folder automatically and give my user full access to that folder. So uh, the first command, the one command I'll do is, so I want to get the folder, because for your user, there's a folder that is assumed that that user folder is that user it is tied to. So to get that, I'm going to run an advanced Linux command, which is the grep command. The grep is to filter out words from a bunch or from a text file, to filter out a particular text. I'm looking for it. So in my case, I know my user information are stored in the etc pass folder. I'm a file which is in the Linux environment, which is in my etc folder. So I want to get the details about this user that I created, which is the test. I want to get that user. So I want to check inside this folder, the passwd folder, to get all the user that contains all the details about this my user. That's like the folder and any other information that I can get from that folder. So now, if you could see here, it is showing me I have this test specifying that my user, it is specifying some information about it. It's specifying a user. My user is having ID 1000. User ID is 1000. This is the group of users. So
Sorry, Simi, we can't hear you again. I think, you know, let's just give a moment. I think he's having network issue.
oh, sir, can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, we can hear you now.
You can hear me right now, right? Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Okay.
you.
All right. So user has this home folder. So if you can folder is the test, I can create that folder slash home slash test.
Um, Simi, I think your network is breaking.
What about now?
Okay, I just heard what you said. It's okay now.
Okay. So I've created a user folder slash home slash test. So I'm also going to give my user full access on that folder. So to do that, I use the ch own command, saying that the user, so the ch own command, to use the ch own command, you type the ch own, then you give your user the So before I do that, so I want to show us something. So this folder I just created, I want to see the the owner and every other the owner and every other details about the folder, every details I can get. Oh, sorry. So if you can see, it is showing that the folder inside the test folder, it is owned by the root, and it's the group owner also is also root. I explained this in my last session, saying the first character is telling you the first type of file. If it's a file or a folder, if it's a file, it will be minus that you would see in there. Then it's telling me the permission for my user, which is the first three. The next three tells me the permission for the group. Then the next three tells me the permission for others. So now I can change this folder. I want to change the owner of this folder and also the group owner of this folder to tests, because that's the folder for test user. So for me to change this folder, assuming there are other files inside this folder and I want them to have that same permission, so I have to pass an option to it. So if you use man command to check, you get more of these options that you can pass with the ch own command. So I know the command is R, which is for recursive. Then I press and then I specify this which folder I want to give uh, this access to, or change the access to. So now, as you can see, it is telling me cannot access test because no such file or directory as so if you recall during our last session, I mentioned about we having relative paths and also absolute paths. Now, because I'm not in that directory, I need to specify the path of where that folder is. So, and I know the folder is in my home path, so I just put /home /test. So now my command works. So now if I do the previous command that I checked earlier to check the file owner, now I can see that the file is being owned by test and the group owner is now test. It has changed from this to this, right? So now I don't want to now log in with that user. I want to switch to that user. So to switch to a user, if you are root or if you are not even root, to switch your user in Linux command line, you type the su command and you specify the username. Because I'm root, so I can switch without specifying a password. So automatically it will switch me to my user, to that user I am in. So now if you could see now, it is when you switch me to that user, it is showing me this part that I am still in the root part, meaning I can't do anything in this part and it will work. I can't create a file in this part and it will work. To create a file, I'm using the touch command. So I want to create a file. Let me call it T1. So it is telling me that permission denied. So during the last session, I asked that which folder can I create. So now for me to go to my user home folder, and I can just press the cd command. So I expect it to take me to my user, home folder. So now I press the cd command without specifying any other command with it. It automatically takes me to my home folder. And when I type the pwd command, it is showing me I'm in my home folder for that test. So now in this folder now I can do I can now type the touch command to create the file I wanted to create earlier. And as you can see, the file has created successfully. So the last session, I was asking that which other part can you create a folder that it is not your user own folder, and that folder for Linux system it is called the temp folder, TMP. So more or less like a temporary folder. So in this folder, I can create. So if you can see now, I'm now in the temp folder. So if I should create a file, let me call that file C2. I was able to create that file successfully. As you can see my file. So that's because that temp folder, why can I create that file here? So let's check the folder permission or the folder information. So I do ls minus lh / tmp. Oh, sorry. I want to do ls minus lh /. So if you see the temp folder, it is saying that the folder is owned by root. It's saying that the folder is owned by root and the group owner is also owned by root. But see some other information that it also passed with it, which I was explaining earlier. So it is showing that user folder, it is the user has full permission on it. Others, the group has full permission on it. Then it also starts telling me that the roots, the others, that's every other person apart from the roots, has read WT. So this T is a sticky bit permission. It's a sticky bit permission that gives you permission on that folder. So meaning that I have permission to write also to write and execute also in this folder as a although the folder is not owned by me and I'm not even so I have permission to edit and also create files in that folder. So um, so one other command that we also talk about, which we've talked about, I've talked about the ch own command. So let me now go a bit further to my grep command to explain that grep command a bit a bit further. So now I want to create a test file. So I want to use the test editor. So in Linux, we have different types of test editor, but the most easiest one is the nano editor. So to use nano, just type nano. If nano command is not found, that means nano is not installed. Then I can now type install nano using, because I'm in Ubuntu, I use apt install nano. Or I can use the other test editor, which is the Vim editor. So I can just type VI. So it's telling me that the Vim editor is also not found, meaning that those commands, because this command, they come by, so it's either you have nano installed or Vim installed by default on your system, on your Linux environment, right? So because it's a Linux Ubuntu, I'm inside a container. So some of those commands are stripped out because your container has to be as light as possible. So I want to exit from this user profile so I can install nano and Vim. So to install, I do apt install nano. So it is telling me no package for installation. Why is it telling me that? Because that I mentioned that for every Linux system that you set up, the first thing you do is you do apt update. You update your packages, which I didn't do when I switched back to this Linux to this Ubuntu. So I'm running the updates now. So once the update is done, then I can now install my Nano package again. So now it has installed Nano. So to make use of Nano, Nano is just like your normal text notepad in Windows. So you just type Nano. So you can either specify a file name or not. If you specify a file name, it will, and that file does not exist, it's going to create that file. And once you exit and save, it will save that file for you. So I want to create a file. So I can do Nano say T5. So now it has created this file for me. So I want to paste, I copied a bit of text earlier, which was the assignment I gave us during the last time. So I'm pasting that text inside this Nano file. So we can do some editing and some manipulation with this folder. So if you see from the bottom here, it is now telling me some things that if I want help, it is showing me caret sign and G. If I want to exit, I use caret sign and X. If I want to write out or read file or to know where is like is another word for search or to replace, to cut, to paste and like that. So if you see um so for where it is showing me caret sign, that caret is control command, is the control key on your Windows system. When you press control, so that will give you that caret for Linux. Then the other one, which is the M, is the alt command. So let's say now I want to demonstrate one of it. So I want to cut a line. I want to cut, which is caret K, which is control K. So if I do control K, notice where my cursor is. My cursor is here, and I want to do control K. Automatically, it has cut out my line 4. And if I do control K again, because my cursor is now on number 5, this last one, it will, and I do control K, it will cut it out. So now, if I now want to now undo, I now press Alt U, which is the undo. Now I've undo, and undo again, Alt U. So that is there are some other commands too that you can just play around when you are working on your own. So now I want to exit this command, this this um, this test file. So I press Ctrl X, and it is now asking me that do I want to save modify buffer. So I can either press Y for yes, N for no, or Ctrl C for cancel. But I want to save, so I press Y. Then it will now ask me, what do I want to maintain the file name, or if I want to change the file name, if I choose to. So since I want to maintain the file name, I press enter. So it's going to save that file name for me. So now I have my T5, which is it, which is this. I have it here, the file that I created. So there's a command called the cat command. The cat command is to read out everything that you have in a file. So if I do cat T5, it will read out everything I have in that file. It will read it out for me. So now I want to play around with the grep command. I want to show us how grep works. So now, say you are asked to find a file, check if a file or if a word exists in a file, or like say when you are troubleshooting or you are reading your logs, and you have like thousands of lines in your logs, but you are looking for a particular word in that your log. So that's where your grep command comes in handy. So now let's say I want to look for the word um, permission or user. Let me say I want to look for the word user in my command in this file, in this T5 file. So what I do is I type grep then the word I'm looking for, which is I want to do a mistake, which is user, then T5, which is the file name. So if I do grep, it is not returning anything. Reason being that it is case sensitive. Linux is very case sensitive. That you should note anywhere, anything, anytime you're working in Linux. My capital A is different from my small a in Linux. It is very, very case sensitive. So the reason why, which is why this it is not returning, this grep is not returning anything. But if I want it to return anything, so I could either change this u to small u, which if I should change this u to small u, and I say okay, look for the word user in T5. So now it is returning, it is it has it will, so it will return the lines which those word appears. So it is telling me that it appears in line 1, line 4, and line 5. So, or I could now pass in the ignore case character to it, or the ignore case option to my grep command, so, which is the -I. Sorry. So now, if I type in this US, note my US is in capital letter, and while my user is in ER is in small letter, and I say look for it, it is still going to return the same output like before, because it is saying that file, it is saying it is ignoring the case and looking for everywhere the word exists, right? So part of the assignment I gave us was that I said, how can I give a user permission to run root command? So the way you give permission in Linux, the best practice is you add that user to the group, to the UN, to the group, to the admin group, same way you have in your Windows. So if you want to give a user administrator right, you add the user as an administrator to the administrator group, which gives the user, which makes the user automatically inherit that admin right. So for Ubuntu, the user administrator group is called sudo, and for Red Hat family, the user administrator group is called we. So and so there are some times whereby you note. So this is a bit advanced. So there are some times whereby you notice the user, you add them to that group, and that user still does not have group access. So one thing that you need to go and check is there's a file where your 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 root informations or your sudo informations are stored, which is called the sudo files, the sudo config file. So to open that file, you could either type a short command, which is vsudo, vi sudo, or you go to that file part itself. So the file is inside the etc sudo, uh, this sudo as, oh this is so that is not here. But if I go to my other this thing, you will see it. It's inside the etc sudo sudo folder, sudo directory. So if I were to access it, I could just type v sudo. So another text editor I want us. So I've talked about the nano. So let me show you the Vim editor. So I don't have Vim installed in this Docker environment. So what I'll do is apt install Vim. So this will install my Vim in my environment, right? So please, while I'm talking, if you have any question, please you could quickly drop it in the chat. And so we can, it's because my time is almost our time is almost up, right? Our time is fast spent. So because we didn't start on time, that's why we are off shooting 9 o'clock. Normally we should have started by 8 and we end by 9 o'clock. So I am having less than 6 minutes more because we started 9:18. So I'm having less than 6 minutes more. So let me show you the Vim editor. So the Vim editor to the same way with your Nano. So I can do Vim T5, which was the file I created in there, and Vim would open that file for me. Same way with my Linux. So, but Vim is a bit different. So the way Vim works is you have to so like now I want to, because people are not that conversant, because it's unlike it's not giving you that notepad or notepad vibes whereby you use notepad, and once you open a file you can start editing. But with Vim is different. If I want to start editing file, I need to press a command, press instruct Vim that okay, I want to edit this file. So to do that, I press the I key. And if you notice from the bottom of my screen, it's now showing it has changed to insert, meaning that I can now type in files. Earlier, I was unable to type in files, meaning I can now type in files and edit this. And edit this folder and edit this and edit this. So now that I've typed, now to now save what I've typed. Now, so first is I'm in the insert mode. I'm in the insert mode. So I need to exit this mode I am in. So I press my escape key, which makes me to leave my insert mode. Now to now save this file, I press then I type in that's colon right, that's right is W colon. If you notice the bottom of my screen, you will see right colon WQ, which is right and then quit. But if I don't want to quit, I can just put Q with an SQ alone. Q alone. Uh, so now I've eaten and I've also quit. So there are so many commands. There are so many commands. So if you are to even talk just on only one command, you can go on and on and on and on. But these are just like the basics of what you need to do. Or you can, basically, it's just to build on it. The internet is there. We have also resources that we also shared in the group, which you will also take on to brush up your knowledge. So, I don't know if there's any question before we call it a day. Uh, is there a question? Since in the absence of none, thank you all for your time. And also for this session, I'll be dropping some tasks for us to just lay hands upon, and so we can also learn, and also we can also improve more of ourselves. So our advice that you take these courses, you you go through them, and if you have questions, if you have concerns or help in any way, do reach out to us. We're on the group, and would definitely someone from the among the leaders of the group would definitely reach out to you. I'll give you clarity on any issue that you are having. So thank you all, and thank you for your time. Bye bye.